An orientation of your science today.
This meeting of the Board of Education will come to order, and the reason that we're here this evening is to look over some information from the School Board Association. So at this time, I'd like to turn this over to Allison Schaefer, who is I believe, the lead counsel for the School Board Association, and she's been doing this for quite some time. Thank you. Yes, you can go wherever you want to.
Good to see all of you tonight. Good to be among friends, and I appreciate your asking us to come talk to you about superintendent search services. As I understand, your superintendent is announced his retirement, which they all eventually do as they finish out. And I know he's had a good long run here. So we worked with you several times doing superintendent searches, including on what the school had doing when Scott came. So we are here to support you. We just want to talk a little bit about our service. I know several of you have not been on the board. You've come on the board since the last search was done, it was a couple of years ago now. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what we do in our process. And I think the first way to start out is just to say, generally we are here to support you as you will. You choose to use us to help with your service or not. We just want to talk a little bit about what superintendent searches generally look like. This is the most important decision you make as a school board because you're choosing the next leader who will help you administer the school system for the next number of years. So it's a really important decision. This is the only hiring decision you make as a board. Everybody, solely by yourself. The rest of the hiring decisions you make, the superintendent recommends, goes through the screening process and then recommends someone to you. You choose to say yes or no. This one, you do all the work yourselves. So we do this service. Chick, could you give me excuse me. Can I talk to you? So we prepared some information for you and just talk to you about our search service. Let me first say that on the left-hand side, on your materials should be a letter that just explains our services. We had sent that to you earlier. We have done searches for 79 of the 150 school districts in the state. And that we have been doing it a long time. I've been doing this, I started the service with school association about 19 years ago, so we've done a lot, several times for many boards, and so I've done about 162 searches up to now. So we've done it a while. I just finished a stint as chair of the National Affiliation of Superintendent Searchers, so we have a national network that we work with as well, the Florida State School Board Association. But we provided you with some information about how often we've done it. We just do searches in North Carolina, but we do know that we do searches, we search all over the country. We have that national network. So let's just talk a little bit about the general way a search looks. I have a sample timeline second back in your materials. I'm really going to use this to talk. A good search takes, I don't want to come out here unless you have 13. No, that doesn't count. Generally a search takes about 6 months to conduct, and I'm just going to talk about the timeline about the normal steps. What you want to do is presuming you want to do a search, and the first thing school boards have to decide is if they are going to do a hire. You can do two ways to go.
Excuse me a minute, Allison. I hate to interrupt you. Laura, can the mic pick her up over here?
Yes.
Okay.
I can stay back. You're fine. Okay. So first thing you need to do is decide whether you want to do a search, which you guys can think about. But if there's something you already have decided to hire, then obviously you just go ahead and hire that person if you choose to. Most boards choose to look at them and get as broad of an application pool as they can, so that they can choose the best candidate among those. Even if you may have to hire others. Okay, this document kind of goes through the steps. We usually recommend that you start out by advertising. In the materials, we're going to talk later about advertising. Generally, we recommend you advertise for about 8 weeks. That's the best amount of time. More than that, you're not going to get a lot more candidates. You start getting under 8 weeks, and you're going to get 3 candidates. And that gives you an opportunity to get the word out, have people know about your position, information to you. We actually do a lot of things when we get the applications to help you, give you tools. Now, the School Board Association is different than some other services. We don't screen applications, we don't tell you who your best candidates are. You're in the group that is chosen by the General Assembly to make these decisions, and we don't feel like anyone should be intruding on your decisions. That's your territory. A service should help you get the best candidates, get good information about those candidates, help you with the process, and let you all make the decisions about who, and we can help you with the process. So that's our philosophy. We are the School Board Association, and we have a lot of respect for school boards and what their role is, and we understand what your statutory duty is. So we collect everything and turn them over to you electronically, and then we'll also do a Google search or an internet search to get information that's out there about the candidates. We also ask for the transcripts, and we ask for any certification information that they might have. So we'll also collect test scores from the current districts and give you additional information in addition to the applications we will consider. And then we have some documents that kind of give you a summarize who your candidates are. And so it takes a while to once you get those, it's usually a week or two, probably at least over 2 weekends, hopefully, for you all to have a chance to review those. We generally recommend you screen them down to the 7 to 10 you're interested in interviewing. So both boards would come with their separate lists of candidates and come in and choose. So advertising applications, and then selecting your candidates. Normally boards choose to interview between 7 and 10 candidates. Less than 7, you may not be able to have a choice. More than 10, you're going to be overwhelmed to interview. So we put all the materials together, and we would make them available to the board. Then you review the applications, you narrow them down to that many. You would have first set of interviews. We do recommend extensive background checks between the first and second interviews. So after the first set of interviews, you would normally narrow them down to about 3 to 4 people, and then we would do an extensive background check for you. You need to do an extensive background check because you want to make sure that people don't have criminal backgrounds, they don't have problems with their prior employment, they don't have credit issues because these people are signing millions of dollars of checks. So you just need to be very thorough about that. That usually takes about 3 weeks. And then the second set of interviews is to do follow-up interviews and ask questions, and then generally the board will decide who they want to choose after the second interviews and make a decision, and then the attorney would then negotiate a contract. We are not your attorneys. We can't be your attorneys. We have what we say. And he would negotiate the contract with you, and then he would make an announcement. So those are the general steps that are followed. We have a specific processes all along the way that we can talk through with you. But I just do want you to understand that we are very much flexible with how you want to do things. So if there's something you want to do differently at any stage of the process, it's your process. We're just here to help you with what works and do all the legwork. This is a very time-intensive undertaking. You're going to have to spend a lot of time together, interviewing candidates and making tough decisions. So it's going to take a lot of work reviewing applications and all that, but it's such an important task. That's what you've been elected to do. So, any questions about anything else? We do, while you're doing the advertising, we do recommend you get community input. And the way we offer to do that through our service is an online survey that's available. We recommended staff and a community survey that are different. They're the same survey, but they're taken separately so that you can see what your staff's concerns are as distinguished from community concerns. You also have opportunities to come with input at your regular meetings. You can designate or encourage people to come talk about that. There are other ways you can get input, like if organizations want to submit an organizational statement, such as your PTA or your Chamber of Commerce. One way to get their input as an entity is to ask them to submit an organizational statement so when they want to register, they can come up with characteristics and what's concerned about for the superintendent and what they would like to see. Community and staff input is really, really important. Remember that in our state, it's confidential who's applied and who your choices are to interview. And so the best time to get input is before you see the applications, so you can take and use that information as you're looking through the applications, and you can consider that. But you cannot release the names. And a lot of times we ask about community committees. In some states they have those where they're helpful to make the decisions. By law, you are the decision makers. the information is confidential by the state laws. And so the time to get input is before the applications are before you, and you can take that into account and consider the input.
Well, I see on the timeline that it's August 15th through October 22nd, there, about that time frame. Do you, I can't remember from the previous time, do you design that survey so that they're the same survey?
We actually have some samples in the materials that we sent to you. And yes, we have some sample different kinds that we can do, and we gave you 2 samples. You can alter them to suit your needs, but we do recommend you use the same survey for the community and staff, just with different demographic information. And we have 2 different kinds of surveys to show you tonight.
Okay.
So generally, the process, any questions about our service? I'm going to get to talk a lot about that, but I want to make sure I answer your questions.
Questions, anyone?
You said it's a 2-month process to go out there. The timeline is August 15th through November 22nd, so it gives us plenty of time to do that.
Yes, we have plenty of time. Part of, I think, we designed the sample timeline with the idea that you may have new board members coming on, and that the applications would be made available to the board after the new folks come on. It's really awkward to have the outgoing board make some of the decisions about the candidates and then the coming board. So we have a little more time than we want to get this done more quickly.
How have prior boards or other boards in other districts then handled your survey process? Otherwise, you've got several samples here, but I'm not sure if we're to sit down as a board and compile these, or is
No, we
it?
take care of all that.
They take care of all of it.
Electronically completed, the computer's tabulated, we come back to you.
No, I'm referring to selecting which questions you want. Or we just use a stock survey, or
You can do that, or you can change those that survey information if you want. It's completely up to you. We've had boards do both. So if the board feels like it wants to change something, you can certainly do that. If you're satisfied with one of these surveys, we can explain to you the differences and why they come up, why we have those. Some boards have wanted to do more in-depth surveys, some want to just do kind of standard surveys. So if you want to have another meeting or talk at this meeting about how you might want to alter those, we can certainly do that.
is there a particular survey that you've got survey 1 and survey 2 for both community and staff here? Is there one particular survey over the other that yields better results for us?
It depends on what you're looking for, which is why we do 2 samples. The survey number 1 is very simple, just says what's most important to you. And it's a lot quicker to fill out, you'll get more people filling it out. But it's not as nuanced in terms of the information that you get. The second one is a more nuanced survey, but it takes people ranking their different considerations. So it really depends on what kind of information your board finds helpful. And we've had boards that want both, not either, one or the other. And so that's why we give you 2 choices, because we feel like it depends on what you think is best for the community. If you want lots of people to respond, the yellow ones are going to get you more people, because it's easier, quicker, and folks don't run out of steam by the end. This one takes some thought and some time, but it does give you more nuanced information. Remember what these surveys are. There are people who have something they want to say, giving an opportunity to say them. They're not scientific surveys, because you can't make people complete them. They're the people who are interested and engaged and have something they want to share with the board. Be aware that all of our surveys have open-ended questions or open-ended comment opportunities at the end. So that's often where you find the most interesting information, is at the end, where people start writing in. Well, I'm really concerned about, we had one, this is the example I like to give is we had one where there was a lot of frustration in the school system because there was 1 year-round school and a lot of the people in the community felt it was getting all the resources. And so even though that wasn't about the search necessarily, people felt like they really wanted that to be a consideration. We're really frustrated that there's one school that seems to be favored getting all the resources. And so you find those kinds of comments in here, as well as please hire so-and-so or don't hire so-and-so. When we do surveys, we will present them to you. We'll come to a board meeting and present them to you along with any other meeting that we've had. We'll do a report. Jim will be doing it. By the way, I think you all met Jim O'Rourke. He's one of our staff attorneys. He's the one who's going to be working.
But Allison, also, the people, if we open this up for the 2, that we'll have 3 more meetings, I think, before well, we'll have 2 for October, unless we have a workshop or anything. We can still have people come and address the board with what characteristics they would like, and have those recorded and written so that you could present those together.
We would include that in any information you have. If we're not in the meeting, I'm sure Jody will give us some information about what comments were made. You can either do it as part of your regular public comment session. Sometimes boards have an extra half an hour, before search when they have folks come in. But I'll be honest with you, it depends on your community, but if folks have this anonymous thing they can fill out on their computers at home, or at school, or wherever they're filling out, you're going to get a lot fewer people that might want to come out in person and get up and stand up and make a speech. So we find that usually, even if we've had some boards do public forums, and rarely are they attended by more than 1 or 2 people. So normally we recommend you attend it to a meeting if you're going to do more time or just part of the public forum session. So that usually works fine.
Does anybody want to talk about the survey real quick?
Why don't we do it this way? If you guys are thinking that you'll go ahead and use us, we brought documents to approve and not include the surveys. So I don't know if you have any more questions about the search in general. Or anything else.
I think
looked
Ken
at the
did.
survey earlier, and survey number 1 is certainly easier to handle for, I think most of our citizens would really find this a friendly document compared to survey number 2, which is, honestly, I felt it very confusing. There's just a lot of words, a lot of translations of what to do and how to do it. I thought
These are different surveys that are different ones that chosen to do the survey,
Absolutely.
have written them themselves. And so again, we're just giving you some choices.
Yeah.
Earl?
I think the goal is just to get as many responses and as much feedback as you can. And having gone through the last search back in a few years ago, I was very impressed with the number of people that did respond. Also, regarding the search overall, in your group and your staff, it was almost a turnkey job. I mean, you covered all the bases, and just very impressed with the thorough research and the background checks and everything else. Just very high quality, and I know Ms. Thomas and Mr. Ridge went through it twice, I believe, before, and I may say the same thing, but Mr. Wiggins and I went through it a few years ago, and it was very impressive.
Thank you. We get better every time we do something. And we really feel like we've developed a very good applicant pool and very good resources for getting good applicant pool. Our numbers have actually gone up in the last few years as we've really done a lot of national outreach. And we do training with the aspiring superintendents program. We go meet with those folks. We have folks from our officers take their tests. We've really upped our pool kind of efforts in the last few years, so I think it's getting better.
Questions?
Which is,
How soon do you need a turnaround on this? If we're going to start advertising tomorrow, if we retain your services, that means today we necessarily need to make some decisions.
We either need to approve one of these, or if we want to ask our own questions, we need to design our own. We do know that these are probably tried and true, for one thing, and we do have an opportunity for letters of support or from organizations, as well as people coming to our board meeting and speaking during the public comment session. But it's a pleasure of the board, and
I know from my personal opinion, surveys, the easier and shorter that it can be, the more responses I'm likely to give.
So I'm hearing that you guys would prefer to.
is that a motion, Bob?
I'll make a motion that we use sample survey number 1.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That was easy, Allison.
Okay, the other stuff is
You did a
easier
good
than
job
that.
on that, Alan.
Okay, if you're getting, presuming you're getting a judgment of hearings, you will. We do have some other documents that if you want to get started tomorrow, which we can do, then we just need your approval on those as well. So So should we go through those?
Yeah, let's go through those.
Do we need a vote on that?
We will when she finishes this.
Okay. The first thing is the timeline, and the documents that need approval are listed in the letter on the right-hand side, which is your first document. The timeline is the second document. These timeline dates are targets only, except the application deadline, which would need to be advertised. So the only date you would need an actual approval on is the date. We have recommended here October 29, which gives you over 2 months, which is great. And gives us time to get all the documents prepared with all the holidays and Thanksgiving and everything before for new board members are sworn in December, so have them all ready for the new board members. So if we do need approval of the application deadline of October 29, if you are comfortable with that.
The deadline for the application is, it seems like it's right around the corner, but it's something that we have to do as soon as we can, because they'll have to have time to massage that application and get in contact with. Yep.
That's normally we ask for 8 weeks, and you actually have over 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So that should be plenty of time. We don't find that if we advertise 2 months longer, that we have a lot more applications. 2 months is generally the word's out there. And as you get close to the holidays, folks are distracted. So I think that would be about your maximum.
The November 5th date, meeting to review committee and staff input. Okay.
That's just to bring to in a public.
That's a
meeting.
board meeting.
Yes.
And that's going to be it'll have to be on the 4th.
The 4th is a Sunday.
I'm sorry, it's the 5th, Monday. It's a Monday, it won't be on a
That's a
Tuesday.
regularly scheduled meeting for you. We looked at your schedule.
The 5th of November is a regular scheduled meeting?
Monday, because voting is the day before, unless you want to come.
That's going to be a little difficult for some of us candidates that are getting that last day preparation, getting ready on.
Well, you approved the calendar?
So let me just put it this way, that when your meeting is up to y'all. We'll come to your November meeting.
Whenever we have it.
All right.
Okay, if you want to change it, just let us know, and we'll come whatever day. But that's the way we picked it up with your calendar. So the idea is to come that day and to, or whatever day you choose to meet, to come that day and report to you all of the public input and also develop a profile at that point. We don't, in some places they develop a profile ahead of time, but it'll slow you down too much.
Mhm.
So if you want to get the community input before you develop your profile. So what we suggest you do is go ahead and develop your profile after you get the community input, so it's informed by the community. We can use that then to develop rating sheets for you, and also questions that you might want to ask the candidate. We can look at what questions you might want to get at. And you don't have to use them, but it does give you an idea of what your community wants before you start looking at applications, which we think is really important.
Is everybody okay with that?
Well, if we're going to have the members that will be elected on Tuesday participate in that process for reviewing the community effort, it couldn't be on the 5th. It couldn't be the day before they get elected.
Well, they won't be sworn in until December 4th, so it's going to, it will be this board.
All right. Then I'm good with it.
And again, the only approval we would need is the October 29th.
Okay,
Rest
so
of it's just.
Do you have a motion, we approve the October 29th
Make
as the
such a
application deadline?
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
I'm going to have Jim come up and talk about our advertising process.
You want to do a vacancy first?
Yeah, do the advertising.
It's in here in the packet.
Good evening, thank you for having us this afternoon, thank you, Allison, for bringing me up. I'd like to take just a few moments now to walk through your vacancy announcements. That's the document with your school system logo on the top. It says Superintendent of School Software. And so what we do is try to put together a little bit of a template so you don't have to sit here on 7 of you and try to wordsmith it. So if it's okay, I'd like to just sort of walk through paragraph by paragraph, and if there's any changes you want us to make, please let us know. So the first paragraph there obviously will insert your application deadline of the October 29th in that blank. But the rest of it is just sort of a general invitation to apply and an announcement of your vacancy. We do ask that folks are either licensed as a superintendent or qualified under the State Board of Education's alternative guidelines to serve as a superintendent. Central office and building level experience is preferred, and a doctorate or progress toward a doctorate is preferred but not required. And successful candidate or the folks you hire, or the individual you hire will be required to live in Onslow County, which is a requirement of state law. The only other thing that some boards tend to put in there is if you want to invite non-traditional candidates to apply, you can include that there, but otherwise this language is generally pretty standard. Does anyone have any comments, anything you want to add or change there?
How about explaining non-traditional?
So that would be folks, so if you want someone outside of K-12 education, so if you want someone from the university side or a business leader or something like that, someone who isn't already in K-12. So that paragraph's okay? All right. So the next paragraph is just a list of the general things that you're looking for, general characteristics, experience, skills. This list has been honed over time. Just sort of a general list. Again, Allison mentioned that you'll develop your own sort of very specific leadership profile, specific to what you're looking for here in Onslow County, but just to give some basic parameters. Certainly, if there's anything you want to add or tweak there, you're welcome to. But, again, this is sort of a pretty standard paragraph. Any changes there that look okay to folks?
Technical Skills Center,
So dealing maybe with like
Regional Skills Center, do we need to add that?
Well, they're part of Onslow County Schools.
Well, I mean,
Earl was saying that should we add the regional skills center that we are opening? It's a
So in the third, you're talking about the third paragraph there?
It-
Okay. Yeah, so the third paragraph goes into more information, specific information about your school system. So if there's something, is there something open up this fall, is what you're saying?
it opens January.
Okay.
It won't,
Add that in
won't
there.
it'll open January 1, but it won't have students until the middle of January.
So there's a regional technical, we'll pull up some information about
It's a
that.
regional skills center. It will serve Duplin, Jones, Onslow, and Camp Lejeune.
So maybe we'll add a reference to that, and if you'll give us, we'll ask for approval at the end of this, if you'll give us some flexibility to add some language about that. Maybe to this, we'll add a sentence or add to the sentence listing the schools and types of schools.
I know Mr. Shannon was here. I don't even know if they have a website or anything yet.
Not yet. I don't believe we have set them up yet on that. Still covered under the CTE section on our current website. So any information there, we'll make sure that we do have that information up there.
And I'll work with you
Yeah,
to
we'll,
make sure that we get that right. But I think that's a great addition to that. And then we rely heavily on the website, so 38 schools, over 26,500 students, those numbers generally sound right. We've also listed your school system web address and some social media accounts. As long as all those look correct, look into some of your staff will be able to
we'll check on those to make sure.
The next paragraph, the fourth one there, is some information about your community. We rely heavily on your chamber website. We try to give each town, a nod here, so I certainly apologize if we've left anyone off the list. We've mentioned sort of your location, the size of the county, mentioned some of your local communities, certainly a reference to Camp Lejeune, the community college, and this beautiful community that you have at the beach, and as well as some additional information about Onslow County, tourism, your chamber folks, and some local news.
I'm sorry. I noticed in the list we're home to the U.S. Marine Corps Base Camp Lejeune and so on. I wonder if those websites do justice to the fact that we are truly a military community. I mean, that's like if you just list these things in order of as far as importance to our community, I wonder if we couldn't give more verbiage to the Marine Corps base, or it may be covered in all these websites you have listed, and maybe that's good enough. Anybody have a idea on that? I just feel like we're so impacted by Camp Lejeune, and Air Station, and so on, that maybe we could have a little something more about that. But it may be covered in all these websites.
We can certainly add that. I
Yeah.
think that's
You
fair.
might could include the number of troops,
Yeah, that would be good, I think.
because we have 3 bases, really. We have Lejeune, we also have the air station, and we also have Marsac, which is
Really growing.
really growing. Nobody knows it's there, really, unless you're traveling that road in the morning.
What's it called? What's it called?
Marsac.
Marsac.
And we could even add a link to the base website
Yeah.
or something like that, so that it's clear, folks can get all the information about the various troops stationed there and what they're involved in.
Yeah, I think any superintendent, anyone interested in this job needs to know that this is a big deal. This is not,
Okay,
yeah.
we'll definitely.
We can certainly put that
If
more
we,
to the
if we
forefront.
know the number of students, approximately the military connected, and the number of our teachers are also military connected, we have a very high rate of turnover for those. So those may be important notices to put in there as well, that, to piggyback on Ken's comment, we're connected at the hip with the base.
Okay. So again, with your approval, we'll definitely add that language
Well, this is more like an executive summary for the
Yeah,
candidate.
this is, we're not gonna get everything in
No.
here.
Right.
This is just to
So,
kind of give
yeah.
them, this is where to start looking, this is where to learn, here's the blueprint, and, you know, an invitation to apply.
It's been, I think, any of us who've been in the interview process for people in this area, if they are going to come here, they're going to already have that. They're going to look it up. They're going to know.
We will give them a little bit more info,
Yeah,
probably.
we'll definitely.
Okay.
And there's the very last paragraph is pretty standard. We have a link to the vacancy, to the vacancy announcement, but also to the online announcement. And certainly whether it's, pretty standard language there. Again, with the caveat that we're going to make a few changes based on our conversation, I think we would ask for approval of this document.
I'm glad that you have in the last paragraph, all inquiries should be directed to Allison's office. That's good.
Let me just piggyback on that a little bit. It is a confidential process, and we would ask if you are contacted by anyone that you refer them to us.
Sure.
Because what happens is you don't want someone thinking they have an in with a board member, and
Right.
then that person is perceived to be aligned with the board member and getting special information. You want it to be as clean and as a process full of integrity where everybody gets the same information. Yours all need exactly the same information. So having conversations with board members, with potential candidates, it should just be referred to us. If somebody calls you, they may think, oh, well, I know this board member, I'm going to call them and just say, the School Board Association is handling our search, and here's the contact information. So, and the same is true with, if somebody calls you and says, I want to recommend someone to you, just refer them to us. We'd be happy to call them. We do that all the time.
Actually, Allison, it's between we 7 and you.
Right.
Any discussion is. I just want to point that out so that
I-
anybody listening to the video or watching the video knows that our central office is out of the mix of this.
Right, and the Human Resources Department doesn't handle it because obviously, we're trying to keep it confidential in your community. And that's why you hire an outside consultant, is for it not to go through the central office. And if you do not maintain confidentiality, you're going to lose candidates and have a very hard time getting good candidates. Because the people that are people who have jobs in other school systems, especially sitting superintendents, do not want to apply if their name is going to be all over the place. They want to be able to continue their jobs if they don't get this one. So, and it's very hard to do that if it's all public. So that's why it's important to go through a very confidential process. Otherwise, the number and quality of the applicants will be reduced.
Allison, is it safe to say that superintendents would prefer to go through the state
Yeah.
association rather than an independent?
Well, I think they're used to us. We remember, every single school district in the state is one of the things I remember. We work with all the superintendents in the state.
Because of that
They're
confidentiality.
comfortable with our process, and they know we'll be very confidential. They know we'll be very careful about the information and that we work closely with our board. So we do have relationships with all of the superintendents in the state. They all know us and they work with us, as much as you do, so I just want to.
Well, you're not only protecting them, you're protecting us too, because it's a matter of integrity.
Absolutely. And it will, like I said, it will reduce the number of quality applications. If people feel like their names are moving on. We've had some unfortunate situations that have happened over the years, and it's very detrimental to the candidates. And so they're very careful around making sure that
Rightfully so.
and someone will call and say, from out of state, you guys can be confidential, because some states have different laws. And we get a lot more applications in our state for these positions than other states do with active laws. Because of
Any other questions about this? If you have any, even later, don't hesitate to ask them.
Yeah, please do. And again, we'll try to get this up tomorrow. So we'll start advertising. And then we'll talk more about the advertising options in just a minute. But again, with those revisions that we've discussed, I just want to make sure everybody's okay with this.
Do you want a motion?
We have a motion to accept the advertisement as is presented with the
Motion.
corrections that he's going to, or the additions.
I'll
he's
make
going
the
to add.
motion. I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
The next document I would turn your attention to is the list of advertising options. Now that you've decided what you're going to advertise and what your vacancy is going to say, I'd like to talk about where you'd like to advertise. We've got a two-page document here. The first page is a list of advertising options that we recommend, many of which are free and do a really good job of getting a lot of national exposure. Two-year vacancy, the only one that does require a fee is the National Association of School Administrators. They've got a 30-day and a 60-day option. Because your advertising window and application period is going to run a little bit longer, it might not be a bad idea to do the 60 days. And certainly we would kind of stagger that so that it gets more folks to apply in the front end. And it doesn't do any good if it's advertised the day before the application is due. So we kind of stagger that in the middle of maybe your 9 or 10 week advertising period. If you'll flip over to the next page, we've got some other advertising options that we like to include. These are things that have been requested by other boards sort of over time. They're trying to target specific types of candidates. This is where we might get some non-traditional applicants. For example, through the Chronicle of Education, that would be folks in the university systems. The American Association of School Personnel Administrators, that's if you're trying to bring someone in maybe on the HR side of things. And then certainly if you want to advertise specifically to minority candidates. So that would be the Alliance of Black School Educators and the Latino Administrators, the Superintendents Association. So these are ones that we certainly recommend as they've come up from other boards, but they're not required, again, depending on sort of what options that you would like to consider. So those are the options. If you have any specific questions about anything listed here, we can certainly address them. Again, on that first page, most of them are free, so there's no harm in putting them out there. Again, the one we would recommend is AASA. And we would ask for a motion to approve whatever options you'd like to pursue, and then certainly to incur those costs, those expenses on your behalf.
Well, I certainly would think we would want to do the American Association of School Administrators. And given the time frame, 60 days probably would be good, because you could stagger that a little bit.
Any other recommendations from the second page, or do you want to stick with the first page with AASA at 60 days? And then again, we would ask for a motion for whatever.
Do you think that the Education Week gets as much coverage really as the American Association of School Administrators? I would think they would maybe touch the same people.
I think that's probably generally true. There might be, top school jobs is a very popular place to go for folks in K-12. So I think you do get a lot of exposure. I don't know how much overlap there is with AASA, but certainly it's a resource that we hear that a lot of folks do go to keep tabs on what positions are available out there. And they only have a 30-day option. So you could do that. You could certainly double that to 60 days if you want to keep it up there that long. But that is a common one that boards talk about, and I think that's something that a lot of the HR folks tend to recommend, because that's where they'll advertise principal positions and things.
Are you able to determine in the past searches that you've accomplished how much interest that you get from these various publications that are on the first or the second page?
Yeah, so I do think on our application we asked where folks heard about the vacancy, and it's not always a reliable way to determine, because a lot of folks are directed by these options to our website with the vacancy listed and the application. So I think a lot of folks tend to list our website as a result. But in terms of specifically where folks come through and which works better than others, unfortunately I don't have a good answer.
Does the website not have the metrics to go back and determine where the leads came from if they come in electronically? The analytics on the school board website?
We haven't tried to do that, but I will say that when we've had a board or two, usually our smaller boards, that choose not to do any national advertising, we do see fewer applications come from the national pool.
Well, it helped us in the 2 previous searches.
Our experience is that about half of the applications, if you advertise nationally, come from out of state and half in state. It just always seems to fall that way. It's just, so it is, you are going to get good candidates from out of state. You may get people who with North Carolina ties who want to come back, who've been here before but are out of state. You also may get people who are retiring in Virginia or South Carolina or somewhere nearby and have another 10 years of being a superintendent in their hearts, and so they are often good candidates because they've got experience. So it does allow you to capture those folks that might have great experience but might be out of state. So we do feel like we get a bang for the buck just based on our fact that we get less out-of-state applicants when we don't advertise that way. If that helps a little bit.
I think you're going to get good exposure from the AASA for 60 days, so I wouldn't get hung up on top school jobs, for example, if that's something you're worried about. I think folks know about this position. I think we've gotten some inquiries, we've gotten some names.
We're already getting people.
Yeah, so it's out there already. So I think, with the options on this first page, I certainly think.
You mentioned the first one, the American Association of School Administrators. I think if any superintendent is automatically a member or subscribes to that magazine and so forth, I think that one would certainly be worthy. But and the others as well, I think we've hit all the key spots. We already know that Onslow County is a point of destination because we're growing. And I also believe that Onslow County Schools, being one of the best school systems in the state, gets a lot of attention from qualified candidates. So I think we're going to do very well, but I recommend, like you just stated, to go in addition to the free ones, the American Association of School Administrators, if the rest of the board feels likewise. If not,
Is that a motion?
I can make a motion
Before you make the motion,
to stick with page 1 and to go with also with the American Association of School Administrators for the 60 days.
Okay.
Is-
Bob wants to say something first.
yeah, I was going to, before you made the motion, I was hoping to say that for the cost that we have on the second page, it's negligible amount of money to at least do 30 days on one of those. So I would amend your motion, I guess, to advertise at least the minimum period.
Well, first of all, we need to have, his motion needs to be restated, and we need to have a second.
Okay.
Or can you restate that?
The original motion was to accept the
The first
all of those
page.
listed on the front page with the addition of the American Association of School Administrators for a 60-day period. That was my original motion.
Okay. Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Williams would like to make a addition to that. If if Earl will let you.
Exactly. I would like to amend it to include at least the minimum period on all of the items on second page as well. That would give us a broader web.
Is there a second to Mr. Williams' motion? Okay, well, let's have some discussion, and we'll vote on that real fast and put it back into Earl's motion.
As the maker of the motion, I just think that the wider net that we can throw, the better off we are, and we're only talking about another $1,000 or so there to increase that net.
Any other comments?
If I can just, again, since these are 30 days, we won't back end them. We'll kind of stagger them in the middle, so it gives folks enough time to see them and then have time to complete the application. So just to clarify about how we'll stick that 30 days in the middle of your 60 or 90-day window.
Okay, all in favor to add that to Mr. Taylor's motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Now, let's vote on Mr. Taylor's motion. It's inclusive of the 60 days for the American Association of School Administrators for 60 days, all of the free sites that are there, including the listservs, and then to add 30 days of the second page in the search.
With the 30 days for 4 of them, there's 6 weeks on the...
Okay, whatever the
total.
time was.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is. I see it right there. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Earl, for amending your motion.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much. I'm going to turn it back over to Allison, and we'll start walking you through the application.
Okay, since you guys have already done the surveys, which is usually our last item to talk about, you talked about that first. The last item we have now is the application form itself. This is a mock-up of the information that we provide to candidates. There's a letter to applicants, standard, most of this, and then this is what it looks like on a computer. But most of this is standard, where you work, where you go to school, what are your references, that kind of stuff. There are 2 places, however, where we would ask that you make some decisions about what you're interested in hearing from candidates about. And the rest of it is pretty routine. There are 2 pages, page 9 and page 10. If you could look at page 9, this is an opportunity to get specific information about things you are interested in hearing about. Remember what this is. This is a screening tool to decide, for you all to decide whether you're interested in talking to these candidates. So we suggest you choose between 4 and 6 of the essay questions, short answer questions, on page 9. If you all just want to throw out what you're interested in hearing about, what would allow you, what information do you want to hear about, their backgrounds, in order to help you screen? What are you most interested in? What kind of experience are you most interested in? So if we could do 4 to 6, we don't want to do all these, that's going to overwhelm the candidates, but we did want to give you some choices.
Well, I think that team building is very important.
That's number
5.
5. Organization.
I think number 6.
Number 6, fostering community relations and intergovernmental partnerships.
Number 3? I'm sorry, number 2?
Number 2 is financial planning, budgeting, and procuring additional funding.
And we need to work with diverse populations.
The diverse populations is number 8. Okay, that's 4. Any other ones?
Anybody have any comments they want to make, they want to change?
So we've got 2, 5, and 8, and
Number 10, planning
What was the other
funding
one?
of school facilities is a big one for us, right?
You're right, you're right.
Yeah.
I agree, Bob. I think 10 is important for us.
Yeah, with our growth.
Okay, 2, 5, 6, 8, and 10 are the final.
6.
Yeah.
2, 5, 6, 8, and 10.
Here,
One more, right?
It's up to 1 more. You have 1 more than 2, you don't have to have 1 more. If you're interested in 1 more, then let me know. Whatever it is.
1,
Number 1, instructional leadership, that's kind of what it's all about.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, again, you can't ask all the questions on the application. You're not going to be able to ask all the questions in person.
I enjoyed reading what their thoughts were on the things before. Can we vote on this real quickly?
Yeah, one more page.
Oh, sorry.
Page 10 is some essays. Again, the first one was experiences. This is some questions about, that tell you more about the candidate themselves and what their philosophy is, rather than what you've done. So we have some some specific essays. Again, you can add to these, change them, do them differently, but here's 6 suggested changes. We suggest you choose at the most 3 or 4. Again, it's a screening tool. What are you interested in hearing about to decide whether you're interested in it or not?
3. Yeah.
3, student achievement and rating student achievement gaps.
Number 2.
How the superintendent and board should work together.
Number 5.
Number 5 is what will you do to learn about our communities and schools?
I like 4 myself.
4, at least
I like
why do you
4.
think what makes you qualified to be our next superintendent? Okay, that's 4. That's
Okay.
Any
okay with
questions, changes? Okay, let's vote on these real fast, not fast, but quickly, so we can get them. All in favor of accepting these as we've checked them off, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
that? You have approved all the initial documents that we would need to get you started, so we'll begin your regular meeting. And I guess you guys are going to decide whether to approve this or not after you approve all the documents.
Y'all, I thought that, and Allison, you stop me if I'm wrong and out of place. I thought that we might go ahead and officially accept the School Board Association's proposal, and then when we come back into open session, we can into our next session, Allison can explain what we've done. Is that proper?
Whatever you want us to do.
Is everyone okay with that?
Yes.
Do I have a motion to accept the proposal and information from the School Board Association to enter into the superintendent's search?
I make such a motion.
We have several moves and seconds, so that's good to hear. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. And since we have been through this, I will tell you, it is probably one of the best decisions that we will make. And I think that the members here who've not done it, once they come back in January and the end of February, they're going to say this was the best way to do it.
Thank you. We appreciate the confidence all of you have shown in us. We really do. We try to keep you happy because you're the reason we have jobs and we're the reason we exist. We love what we do, and this is my favorite part of my job because it's like helping, giving you, a positive thing. Instead of helping you with problems, you're helping you find a great new leader, and that's really exciting for us. Remember, it's your process, and we're very respectful of that. If you feel like you need a third set of interviews or you need additional information about the candidates, we're here to make sure you have the information you need to feel like you're making a good decision. And we really try to be incredibly thorough. I have a fabulous staff, Jim is one of those fabulous staff members, and we really try to take good care of you. I mean, we're here to support you and help you get what you need. And so we look forward to working with you. I know you'll get great candidates. I've already gotten tons of phone calls. I mean, it's amazing as soon as the superintendent announces return. So I think we'll do our best to find you a pool, and if you're not happy with your pool, we'll go get you some. I mean, we don't want you to settle. We want you to find something you're really happy with.
Thank you, Allison. And thank you both for coming. At this time, we will, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
And we have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And this session is adjourned, and we will be returning at 6:30. This meeting of the Onslow County Board of Education will come to order. Thank you so much for coming on a dry afternoon, and maybe we will have conducted our business before the rains come in tonight. So thank you so much for coming. First item on our agenda is to invite Pastor Mark Young, who's the family minister pastor at Catalyst Church here in Jacksonville, to our podium, and he will deliver our invocation.
Thank you for having me tonight. Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, Lord, first we just want to come to you and we want to say thank you. We want to thank you for our schools, for the opportunity to gather in our schools, to teach and educate, And Lord, we just ask for your protection over our schools over this next year. Lord, we just ask and we say thank you for each staff member and for each teacher that pours their commitment into each student. And Lord, we pray for those students as well. We thank you for each student just for their precious life and their minds, Lord, that we have the opportunity to educate. And Lord, we just want to also say thank you for the families and the communities that support our schools. And Lord, as we gather here tonight at this Board of Education meeting, we just ask that you would help in guiding us and just being leaders in this community, making right decisions and doing right things for our students, Lord, and that you would just give us the guidance and the wisdom and the protection and the power to make those decisions that are needed for this next school year. And so, Lord, we just want to say thank you and that we are honored to be leaders in this community who have an opportunity to pour into these schools. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. We rise and face the flag and join in the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is approval of the agenda, and at this time I would like the board to consider moving one of the Good News Spotlights items on Synergistic Report into the general business as item B1, so that it is more appropriately addressed in general business, even though it will be a good news to us. And at this time, I'd ask the board if someone would make a motion.
I'd make the motion.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, that's B1, and it's the Synergistic, and it's moved from the Good News Spotlight. With that change, approval of the agenda. Anyone?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Next, approval of the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Good News Spotlight. Mr. Anderson?
Thank you, ma'am. Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Stout, executive staff, and members of our audience tonight. During our Board of Education meetings at the end of last school year and at workshops this summer, the board discussed the possibility of creating a program similar to the city and county's Citizens Academies. I'm excited to begin the Good News Spotlight this evening with the announcement that we will be launching a new Citizens Academy style program later this fall. OCS Behind the Scenes will give community members a unique opportunity to see the inner workings of the school district and gain a better understanding of how their school system works. Developed under direction from the board, OCS Behind the Scenes will give participants an up-close look at what goes into running the school system. The exact format is still under development, but will include information from each of the district's major departments, including such topics as budgeting, construction and maintenance, curriculum and instruction, and other components of the Onslow County school system. Ultimately, the program will provide participants the opportunity to learn more about the 12th largest district in the state and have the opportunity to meet and interact with the talented individuals who keep things moving on a daily basis. Some more information about this will be coming, and we will be keeping it posted on the OCS website as well.
Thank you, Mr. We're looking forward to that.
All right. So our next item, let me get my paper straight here. We have a recognition for one of our departments tonight, and I'm going to be asking Dr. Collins if he'll come up front. The Professional Development System, or PDS, is a system of relationships among the UNCW Watson College of Education and 143 schools in southeastern North Carolina. PDS improves the quality of teacher and administrator preparation and performance through rigorous admissions standards and an array of professional experiences, including site-based seminars and a coaching and supervision model, which involves pairing interns with trained partnership teachers. The UNCW PDS school system partners are an integral part of our comprehensive university school partnership system and align efforts and resources for the improvement of education for students in southeastern North Carolina. Formal contractual agreements are signed every 3 years with the Watson College of Education Dean, UNCW Chancellor, and Board of Trustees, and 12 local school system superintendents and their boards of education. Partnership teachers, site coordinators, and PDS school administrators, along with university faculty, participate in required training designed to provide opportunities to gain new understandings and professional skills necessary to the accomplishment of PDS goals. School system partners engage in collaborative research and grant initiatives relating to school performance and other education issues addressing critical needs of North Carolina educators. Now, this year marks the 25th year of our university school partnership, and this plaque that's going to be presented to Dr. Collins has been presented to the Onslow County School System on behalf of the University of North Carolina at Wilmington, recognizes our service and leadership to students across southeastern North Carolina. Now, Madam Chair, tonight we would also like to announce another new initiative with the creation of the Order of Excellence in Education. This recognition will provide an opportunity for the superintendent and the Board of Education to recognize individuals or organizations who have made a significant and lasting impact on the Onslow County school community. Individuals selected for the Order of Excellence in Education will be recognized during our Good News Spotlight and have their name included on a plaque which will be displayed in the lobby at the OCS Central Services. At this time, I would like to ask Officer XY Brown and Chief Yanero and Sergeant Williams if you guys would come forward. Come on up here. Now, the first recipient of our Order of Excellence in Education is a man who has served the Jacksonville and Onslow County community for over 5 decades. And for a good portion of those years, he's served the Onslow County school system. If you've ever had the opportunity to travel down Henderson Drive when Northwoods Elementary is taking students in during the morning or letting students out in the afternoon, you've probably seen this man out there directing traffic. Officer Brown is a fixture as a crossing guard at Northwoods Elementary and has probably had the opportunity of helping, I'd say, 2 or 3 different generations, Officer Brown, safely get to school. For those of us who grew up in Jacksonville, like myself, Officer Brown was also a familiar figure to us when we were teenagers, providing security for at Skate World, I think. That was where I saw you a lot there, and on Gum Branch Road. So regardless of where you came across him, Officer Brown was always, and still is, concerned with the safety of young people in our community. So thank you, Officer Brown, who's here tonight with his supervisor, Sergeant Philip Williams, and Jacksonville Chief of Police and Public Safety Director Mike Yanero, for all that you have done and continue to do for the students of the schools you serve and for the greater Jacksonville-Onslow County community.
Thank you.
So we have a plaque for you, sir. Thank you, Officer Brown.
Thank you,
for your service.
Officer Brown, would you like to make a few comments?
Feel free. It's all yours.
First, I'd like to say thank God for being here. Thank God for you guys allowing me to be here. And number one of all, thank God for the chief and the sergeant. Because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be standing here. And I'm a native of this country, of this town. I love it. There ain't no other place I would love to live but in Jacksonville. I've been just about all over the world, just about all over the world. So I enjoy my job. I enjoy bosses and all people that I have been around. I enjoy people. I love people. And thank God for being here. Thank God for you guys letting me be here to see these wonderful faces and enjoy being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, as a former history teacher, I've always been fascinated by the past. I believe it's essential to remember from where we have come as we navigate our path forward. Our final Good News Spotlight item for tonight helps us remember a difficult time in the history of our nation and the impact two men had on helping establish our future success, not only in the school system, but for the county as a whole. Please join me in welcoming Angie Stroud Manning to the podium. Ms. Manning is the daughter of the late Amos T. Stroud, who served the Onslow County school system from 1970 to 1990 as the principal of White Oak High School. She will be sharing tonight a little of that historical perspective and the relationship between her father and the late E.R. Mason, who served White Oak High School for 27 years as an assistant principal and athletic director. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you, Board, for allowing me to come share with you tonight. I'm here to share what I believe is an important story of two ordinary men who had an extraordinary partnership in education in Onslow County. My father, Amos T. Stroud, was the first principal of White Oak High School, which opened in 1970. Edward Reed Mason was the vice principal and athletic director from that very first year until he left Onslow County in the late 1990s. Mr. Mason drove every day from Clinton, North Carolina to Piney Green Road. For those of you who do not know, Clinton is approximately 60 miles west of Jacksonville. Mr. Stroud passed on March 10th of this year, and Mr. Mason passed 33 days later on April the 12th, the day that he was to be inducted into the Onslow County Sports Hall of Fame. In 1969, these two men met one another when Mr. Stroud became a first-time principal at the opening of Union High School in Clinton, North Carolina. There had been a federal court order mandating the integration of the previous all-white high school with the students from Clear Run, an all-black school. Mr. Mason had been a biology teacher and coach at Clear Run and moved to Union to serve in that same capacity. Stroud came from Wayne County, where he had been a math teacher and a coach. It was a tumultuous time in our country. It was in 1954 that the Supreme Court ruled on the Brown versus Board of Education case, declaring that segregation of public schools was unconstitutional. This Union High School integration did not occur until 1969, after a local court decision in Sampson County. For the first 20 days at Union, a large number of white families boycotted the opening of the school. This was led largely by patrons from the community of Turkey in that district. Literally, the only whites that were at school during those 20 days were the white principal, teachers, the white support staff, including cafeteria workers, housekeepers, and bus drivers, and the white football players and cheerleaders. Every Friday during those 20 days, several of the white parents came to the school to meet with the principal to proclaim that they would be back on Monday to take their school back and send the black students home. On the 21st day, the parents came to school with their students, conceding to allow them to attend school. Stroud always said that things would have gone much smoother if the parents had just left the children alone. The students were more ready than were the parents. A former White Oak teacher stated that Mr. Mason spoke of that union, the year at Union, and stated that Stroud refused to take sides with either race, but played it straight down the middle, making decisions that he felt were best for all. At Union High School, Mason and Stroud became a team. They worked side by side to set an example of how unity is stronger than the individual. They were only at Union High School for 1 year when Stroud was recruited by Onslow County Board of Education to become a new principal at White Oak High School on Piney Green Road. He agreed to accept that position, but only on the condition that he could bring Mr. E.R. Mason with him. They spent the next 20 years dedicated to White Oak High School. Mr. Mason didn't use this vice principal position as a stepping stone. Mrs. Mason recently told me that Mason was recruited time and again by the Sampson County school system, but that he simply loved White Oak. Theirs was a perfect balance of leadership. In those early days at White Oak, the integration was not of race, but of the kids from rural White Oak Township and the kids living in or near the city of Jacksonville. Mason and Stroud were committed to achieving a balance of fun and excellence of education for the White Oak students. They held weekly pep rallies and over-the-top spirit weeks and shared a determination to select the best possible teachers. Teachers felt as though the trust that they had for one another was extended to them and that they always had the full support of their two principals. They were always open to new ways of instruction, with Stroud embracing the Adlerian instruction principles from his experience as a student at one of the first PEP classes at the School of Government. From that course, he prepared the White Oak teachers to lead a school-wide seminar where every student read Martin Luther King's letter from Birmingham jail. Even in recent times, he would say of racial prejudice, "We'll never get it right. We waited too long." He believed that the Emancipation Proclamation, which granted freedom to slaves, should have also outlawed segregation. It's only been since the passing of these two gentlemen that I've come to fully appreciate the profound bond they shared, and the historic context of their partnership. They were more than co-workers. They were friends, but really more like brothers. Unlike my siblings who also attended White Oak, I rode to and from school with my dad. And it's only recently come to me that at the end of every school day or after a football game or another event, that they would circle back up with one another and shake one another's hand. I think they did that every single day. And how many students witnessed that over the years? And while a handshake is a simple gesture, theirs really exemplified the unity and the partnership in leading White Oak High School. But more importantly, and most profoundly, it symbolized the respect and trust that these two men had for one another. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nancy.
And Madam Chair, that is your good news for tonight.
Thank you. Members of the board have any comments they'd like to make? Anyone? I know that there are several members of this board who could say something back in response to Angie's presentation, and it was very touching for us as well because they were two fine men, and we were fortunate to have worked with them.
I would like to say something. I had the privilege of going to White Oak High School after Mr. Stroud. So I worked with him as principal to principal from another school. And then I had the opportunity to work with Mr. Mason hand in hand every day. Two great gentlemen, and the impact they've had on kids in this county is just unbelievable. Two great guys.
Anyone else?
I'd just like to say I've had the privilege of and honor of being hired by Mr. Stroud and Mr. Reddick. We started our careers at White Oak High School and have fond memories. But I do recall Mr. Stroud being technically the principal and Mr. Mason technically being the assistant principal. Mr. Stroud would always refer to Mr. Mason as the other principal. What he says goes. Don't come to me. That's just a mutual respect. It was a very special place to teach and to work and have your children go there and attend White Oak. And we have a lot of special places here in Onslow County. We're just very fortunate.
And Angie, I want to thank you for coming tonight and reminding us of that bond that you focused on tonight. I can look around this room and there are many people who were touched by Amos T. Stroud and Mr. E.R. Mason. And like Mr. Taylor said, Earl and I started the very same time at White Oak High School in 1974. And I can say those 8 years at White Oak, I think, molded me as a person and maybe even as a leader. Based on the experiences I had with Mr. Mason and Mr. Stroud. And I think we all miss them. And it was just a wonderful experience, and what two wonderful gentlemen we all had the time to experience with them. So thank you, Angie, for doing what you did tonight.
Thank you. That's the end of the Good News Spotlight. I hope that you enjoyed the good news tonight. It was really two new things that we haven't done. Had someone speak about our administrators who've passed and their contributions, and more importantly, their relationship with each other and with their teachers and staff. We also had a new award tonight, or recognition as I would like to call it, and I think that that is going to be a highlight for us as we move forward throughout the school year. If you're here just for the Good News Spotlight and you would like to take this time to leave, this would be a good place. And then we will begin our general business, and you're welcome to stay. We don't have anyone who has signed up for the first public comment session, so we'll move right into our general business. And the first item on that is the superintendent search. And I'd ask Allison Schaefer with the School Board Association to come forward. Earlier this evening, she and her staff presented an information to us, and we agreed on entering into a contract with them to do our superintendent search. She's going to give you a little overview of the services.
First of all, thank you to the board for the confidence that you have expressed in us to help you with the superintendent search. I'm Allison Schaefer with the School Board Association. With me is Jim O'Rourke, who is a staff attorney with us, and we have done searches all over the state for many years, including the search that brought your current superintendent, Rick Stout, here. And we're honored to be asked to come help again as he moves on to his supposed retirement, which I'm not believing yet. But so we look forward to working with the board. We have decided earlier in the day, we decided on a timeline, an application process, an advertisement. The position will begin being advertised tomorrow, and we will start getting the word out. The board will have approximately a little bit more than 2 months to advertise. The application deadline will be on October 29th. And the application will be available online. That information will be disseminated on your school board website as well as other places in the state. And we look forward to getting great applicants as you had last time, and have great selection. The board, the proposed timeline that we discussed with the board is flexible, but targets having someone new in place by the middle of March. That can move up or backwards depending on how quickly the search goes. But that's our target, so wanted everyone to know that. I don't know if there's anything else specifically that you want us to address. Oh, there will be community surveys and staff surveys going out in the next few weeks. We really hope that folks from the community and staff will complete those. They're an online survey, and then there are opportunities to come before the board at their regular public comment sessions if there are some specific things you want the board to know about what your concerns are with regard to the superintendency, what you think this new superintendent needs to have in terms of traits and characteristics and experience. So that's very important, and it will inform the board's decision. If you can complete the surveys, we also, community groups are welcome to submit organizational statements as well. And we will collect all those, and the surveys will basically come back to us, and we will report those to the board in their November meeting. And that is, again, another opportunity for the public to hear what the board is concerned about. The board will take that information and make a profile of what it's looking for before it sees any application. So that information will be considered and be before the board before they start looking at any applications. So there's a great opportunity for input, and we encourage everyone to take advantage of that.
Any of the board have any questions or comments for Allison? If you don't mind staying for just a few minutes longer, while we have 2 or 3 more items of business. and then we're going into a closed session, we can sign the contracts, because Alex has had time, and then we will make sure that the school board members themselves get a copy of that.
Okay, great. And we appreciate, again, the confidence you've shown in us. We will do our utmost to make sure you have great candidates and a great process. Thank you.
Thank you. We look forward to it. Next is the interim superintendent. Back at our last work session, you gave me the authority to, or direction really, and authority to speak with someone about the superintendency for an interim position. And at that time, I did. And I did let everyone know that he has agreed to serve. We have not formulated any contract, but Alec will do that. However, it's up to the board, and we will need a motion and a second to accept Ron Singletary, who is a former superintendent of Onslow County, as well as he served as an interim superintendent during our last superintendent search. So at this time, I'd like a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And I don't know if Dr. Singletary is looking tonight, but he knows that I will be in contact with him, and then Alec will work on the particulars in the contract and bring that back to the board for approval. Next is the item that we moved from the consent agenda, and like I said, it's the synergistic report. It is a good news item, and I believe that Mr. Anderson is going to introduce this.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Since January of 2016, Onslow County Schools has partnered with Synergistic.
Excuse me. Please turn your cell phone on silent, please.
There we go.
Okay.
But since January of 2016, Onslow County Schools has partnered with Synergistic on ways to optimize energy usage in our facility's 3.8 million square feet. Tonight, we would like to welcome Colin Barrett, Vice President and Energy Consultant with Synergistic, to share some good news regarding the results of this partnership. Mr. Barrett?
Good evening. Thank you for
Good evening.
letting me come and make this presentation to you this evening. I'm very excited to share the success of the energy program with you. Like you said, I'm Colin Barrett. I'm the program director for the implementation of the energy program here in Onslow County. We also have Shannon Smith with us tonight. She is the measurement and verification specialist. And then our boots on the ground energy specialists are Johnny Thomas and John Keel. So these are the guys that are in the schools making it happen. So that's very small. So overall savings to date since program inception is a little over 2.1 million, and that's about 15.8%. So that's a good number for the first 2 years of the program. Here it is broken down by year for you. The quick start period, I'm going to have to look, sorry, it's a little small. The quick start period was $288,000. That's the fee-free period, so that first 6 months of the program where there was no fee. And then it's broken down by performance year 1 and performance year 2. As you can see, it's broken down by commodity, and you can see there's a good increase over year 2, especially January. I don't have it broken down up there, but January of 2018 till June has really been a big increase. We've, I think except for February, we're at 20% or above every month. So we're really on a good clip right now, and the program just continues to build momentum and save more money. Heating oil isn't quite done for performance year 2. That's why that number's a little lower than performance year 1. It's a bulk fuel, so it's not a monthly bill. We have to catch it up at the end of the year, in the middle of the year. So day in the life of the energy specialist. Obviously, I introduced the two guys that are the boots on the ground. They have a continual presence in the building. I think if you talk to any of your principals and staff in the buildings, they know exactly who those two guys are. Obviously, our staff comes in monthly. We have engineers. I visit Shannon maintains the integrity of the database. So we're always coming in, training, looking for opportunities, engineers, building control specialists. So we do a lot of work with the maintenance staff on the building control systems to make sure that we're, not running the buildings all week and all night, that we're matching the run times with the occupied time. So maintenance has also been a huge help. We work with maintenance daily. They have weekly maintenance meetings, and they're working with those guys every day, working with the custodians, teachers. Breaks are obviously the big opportunities, making sure that we're setting back during the breaks and capturing those opportunities. So obviously, thanks to everybody, thanks to the board, thanks to the principals, custodial staff, maintenance, just everybody. It's a big team effort. It's not just those two guys doing it. Everybody has to cooperate. And I got to say, it's been a pleasure to work here. Everybody has been cooperative. So it's a good energy program. It's a good team. With that being said, 35 of your schools are receiving the Energy Star Award for 2017. This is an award that is given out by the EPA. It's a process that we have to go through and apply and give all kinds of data and bills and all kinds of stuff. John and Johnny can tell you. But anyway, 35, and that's a huge number. I think the only two schools that didn't make it were the New Dixon, right? And then Thompson, which is not a full K through 12, so it didn't qualify. But what the Energy Star Award means is that those 35 buildings are in the top 25% of all other schools that have applied for this award in the EPA. So this is a comparison award with other schools around the nation. So it's quite an achievement, and I understand we're going to give out the certificates at a future principals meeting. So anyway, pretty proud of that, and that's a good third-party verification to show that Onslow County is doing the right thing, and you're being recognized for it. So,
Questions from the board?
Yep.
Comments?
You said Dixon did not make it. Was that due to the coming online, starting the school last year, or?
Correct. So there wasn't a full year of data.
Okay.
So it wouldn't have qualified because I think it came on start of the school year in 17. So that needs a full.
You referenced, that we're about 15 to 20% at that level. Do you expect that will improve?
Are you talking about Energy Star, or are you talking about overall savings?
Overall savings?
Yes, I do. We're actually we're even looking at July today, and it's, we're on a clip right now where we're improving every month over the year before, and I fully expect that trend to continue. I think at some point, probably within the next year, we'll be at 20% overall.
Other questions?
I was going to say, I know why this item was in the good news spotlight, because it is good news, but I think the average age of our schools is around 41 years old. 41 years old. Yeah, okay. Although we built some new schools, but as far as those older schools, and we've got quite a few that are older than 41 years, other than turning the lights off, what are some of the challenges for those older schools?
Well, obviously, aside from replacing equipment or that's not really the name of the program, right? But it's a little more than turn off the lights, but let's set back the air conditioning at night. Let's set back the heat at night. We'll bring in engineers and our control specialists to make sure it's running as efficiently as possible. If it's not, we'll make recommendations and have that. I will say most of your savings are going to be from HVAC, air conditioning, and heating. So that's where we look for the opportunities. The old schools are, I know they're, you think that they're not energy efficient, but a lot of times that older equipment doesn't use as much because there's not as much there. Like a newer school is going to have a lot more equipment, whereas the older school is old standards and HVAC standards, and that equipment might not use as much energy. So, but basically just judicious use of what they have and making sure we can set it back as much as we can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That is good news. Next is a Career and Technical Education Advisory Council, and who's doing that? Okay, good. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Familiar face.
Madam Chair, members of the board, staff, I will say it's good to be home. It is good to be home. So tonight we do have a proposed slate of members for the new Career and Technical Education Business Advisory Council. This is a product of Policy 2670, which is a product of 115C 172, general legislation. And we do have a list of people who have made application for that particular Business Advisory Council. My assumption is that you have that list of members, and so you see that list of members. So we have that proposal there for your consideration for approval, so that we can start working with this Business Advisory Council.
Gentlemen, you have the list in front of you. We have a motion to approve these and accept it.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the list as submitted.
Have a second. Have a motion and a second. Any comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That's a very good list, Chris. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Next, we will be considering a motion to go into closed session pursuant to the open meeting law to instruct staff in negotiating the terms of a proposed contract for the acquisition of real property. This time I ask for a motion.
So moved.
And may I have a second? I know I heard a second, didn't I?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And this time we will be entering closed session and we'll be back in a few minutes. May I have a motion to return to open session?
Motion to return.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Mr. Myers?
Madam Chairwoman, members of the board, with the continuing growth of the school system, Onslow County Schools and the county have been working closely to build new facilities with the county's commissioners. One area of great need for additional elementary classrooms is the Stump Sound Township. Over the last 5 months, Onslow County Schools has been looking for suitable land in the area and has found approximately 100 acres in 2 separate parcels that can be used for a new elementary school. These properties that were presented earlier are located on Folkestone Road with a total cost of $519,300. $483,300 for 100 acres and an additional $36,000 for a parcel to increase road frontage on Folkestone Road. The agreements are contingent on the following items: the Board of Education approval, county approval for the purchase of the land, and environmental suitability of the land identified to build a new elementary school. So at this time, staff would ask the board to consider approval of the agreements. The first, and these agreements will be approved, we would ask that this board approve in 2 separate individual agreements. The first agreement we would ask the board to approve is for the smaller parcel, 0.4 acres, located on Folkestone Road, parcel ID number 046827, and the owners are Stephen Barefoot and Jason Barefoot, for the price of $36,000. So at this time, staff would ask the board to consider approval of that piece of property, purchase of that property.
We have a property for $36,000 that will provide road expansion into the property that we will vote on next. Do I have a motion to accept that?
Make such a motion.
And there's a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you. The second parcel in the agreement is the 100-acre parcel, and that's parcel number 020312. And that's owned by Don Beasley, Stephen Barefoot, and Jason Barefoot. And the property is 100 acres, and the value of that is $483,300. So at this time, staff would ask that the board consider approving the agreement for the purchase of the 100-acre parcel.
We have a request for a motion on the purchase of 100 acres in the same area. Do I have a motion to accept that?
Second.
On the second, any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, thank you.
Thank you.
For all of the work that you and your staff and our attorneys done on these. And we look forward to the next steps. At this time, this is the second public comment period, and it is will be 5 minutes and will be held at the end of this meeting. The comments must be issue-oriented and related to matters under the control of the Board of Education. At this time, Ashlyn George has signed up to speak. Come to the podium, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Ashlyn George. I'm from Jacksonville High School. I am on the student council at our school. I am now serving as the student body president. This is Adejon. He's also on student council, and he's serving as our senior class president. Excuse me if my voice gets a little shaky. I have not yet mastered public speaking.
I'm sure you'll do fine, but let me just point out
Yes, ma'am.
that if you're speaking for both of you, because only one of you signed up to speak,
Okay.
okay?
Okay, so he cannot speak?
Only the person who signed up.
Okay, understandable. So I am bringing attention to leaving campus for lunch, which is something that we do not have at Jacksonville High School, nor, I believe, any other school in Onslow County. One, this is something that I feel as a student is kind of like would be an air freshener, I believe. You know, we're in classes 7 hours a day. It's not fun being in 4 closed walls. Doing papers all day and hard tests, especially for students. Taking harder classes, it gets pretty difficult. So I'm just going to pull up a quick article that I found. So this is actually from a website of a school that does do open campus for lunch. And at their school, it says, acceptable conduct and good academic standing, and obviously a form that a parent and child, parent and child have to sign, allows a pass for the child to leave off of campus for lunch and only lunch. So, one, it has to be obviously a good student, so we can try to eliminate any students that might not come back to lunch, try to skip, or do any illegal activities. Also, having the parents sign a waiver takes, liability in more of an action sense. Yes. Want to whisper anything in my ear to say? I'm sorry, I'm such a bad speaker. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, and I believe we're going to be meeting with some of your age group pretty soon, so we'll be able to have that conversation with you again. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And is there a sheet I could sign up on really fast if you know?
I'm sorry.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine. Thank you.
And if you will be sure, I've got a number on here, and someone will be getting back with you. Okay? Thank you so much. That is the end of our meeting this evening. I appreciate you coming. And it's not raining yet, so that's exciting to me. We have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
And we have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much.